So the next thing, we hear a lot about the security barrier that Israel's building in the West Bank a lot. And there has been a lot of suicide bombing inside of Israel. A lot of innocent people have died, a lot of civilians have died. It sounds reasonable that they would want to build a wall, stop people from coming over and blowing themselves up, blowing people up. The only problem with that is that instead of building the wall on the border between the West Bank and Israel, or on their own land, they built it deep into the West Bank. Actually, let me show you a little clip before I keep going with this. This is from a movie called Bil'ain Habibti. If you're interested in the subject at all, I think this will do a much better job of talking about the security barrier than I ever could. But here's a little clip from it, which hopefully will actually work.
בידו, בודרוס, בית ליקיה, זאוויה, מסחה, דיר בלוט, דיר קדיס, עשרות כפרים, מאות הפגנות, אלפי פצועים, 11 הרוגים. אני עובר מכפר לכפר, מהפגנה להפגנה, חוזר הביתה לתל אביב ומדבר עם כל מי שמוכן להקשיב. שנתיים עברו מאז שפרצה האינתיפאדה השנייה, שבמהלכה נהרגו למעלה מ3,000 פלסטינים ו1,000 ישראלים. ממשלת ישראל טוענת שבצד הפלסטיני אין עם מי לדבר ויוזמת הקמת מכשול הפרדה בין העמים. בציבור הישראלי יש הסכמה רחבה שזהו הפתרון הביטחוני הטוב ביותר, וב-2002 התוכנית יוצאת לדרך. תוואי המכשול אינו עובר ברובו על הקו הירוק. בחלקו חומה ובחלקו גדר הוא מתפתל וחולה עשרות כפרים במכלאות ענן. הוא מספח לישראל שטחים נרחבים בגדה המערבית, מפריד בין חקלאים לאדמתם ומפצל משפחות. לשטח שנותר לפלסטינים אין רצף טריטוריאלי שיאפשר הקמת מדינה של ממש בעתיד. בית הדין הבינלאומי בהאג קבע כי תוואי הגדר אינו חוקי, אבל הממשלה ממשיכה בבנייה בטענה שהמכשול הוא אמצעי זמני בלבד. כשיהיה שלום, הגדר תרד.
So the reason that guy was going so crazy was that's not just cutting down some trees, that's cutting down the way he feeds his family. I mean, that's what he depends, his entire livelihood depends on picking those trees for olives. And you can't just replant an olive tree. It takes about a lifetime's worth, like 60 years before it starts bearing fruit. So like I said, the problem was that this security barrier is being built deep into West Bank land. It's thousands of people are cut off from their farmland that they depend on for subsistence, yeah. Israel's reason, stated reason for building it into the West Bank is to protect the settlements. But even if you accept legitimacy of the settlements. If you take a closer look at the issue, things aren't that clear cut. For example, let's take one example, the town of Bil'ain, which is probably the best documented of this type of example, and the one that I'm most familiar with myself. This is the path of the wall around Bil'ain. As you can see, it kind of follows almost exactly the master plan, the development plan of the settlement. That's right here, Modi'in Alit. All this land right here is stuff that hadn't been built on yet when they had started to build the settlement, and it's land that belonged to Bil'ain and some of the other towns around the way. You see that that didn't stop the settlers from including them in their plans. And what Israel claimed, as far as like the Israeli government claimed, why this was necessary was to provide a buffer zone to the existing settlement. But if you look at look at the map, one, it doesn't follow the route that would be most easy to defend topographically or engineering-wise. It goes to the low ground instead of staying in the high ground. And also, you can look at what's happening in that land now. There's already roads and apartment complexes that have been built on that land that the Palestinians of Bil'ain still own the title to. They still own the title to this land, and they're already starting to build apartment complexes and roads on it. And not to mention, they're also still subject to this law that if they don't cultivate this land right here, they're going to lose it. Also, the rest of this land over here, the way they got it is dubious at best. A lot of this land in this area around here was purchased in a land deal where two lawyers, one of which had been convicted of fraud in a land deal involving Palestinians in the past, wrote a sworn testimony saying that the head of Bil'ain village had told them over the phone that they could buy this land from him, that they had sold this land from him. No signature, nothing. I heard from this guy that I could sell it. Write on a piece of paper, and that's good enough to justify a land deal. This is all documented. You can, if you want to contact me later, I can show you the documentation for how this happened. The rest of the land of the settlement was taken in '91 when the Israeli government declared this uncultivated state land and took it for itself and built a settlement on it. The settlers, the villagers of Bil'ain kind of hotly dispute that. And just the idea that Israel would presume itself to be the state in this area, expropriate land as state land, and instead of using them to benefit the people that live in the community where that land is, would use it to benefit their own civilians way far off, is kind of messed up. And two, Palestinians have no say in how that state land is used. They have no vote to say like, oh, we would like it to be used to do this, etc. And yeah, like I said, that leads to a lot of problems. So in response to the situation, there's been like a lot of like huge protests against the separation wall in many of these villages, Bil'ain being the biggest one. They kind of range in their degree of nonviolence. Some of them, like in Na'lin, are all stone throwing. Some of them in Masara are just completely nonviolent. In Bil'ain, it's kind of a mix. You got people going in a nonviolent group and being 100% nonviolent, but then 100 yards off, there's youth that on their own decide to go throw stones.